Over the course of the years, I have realized that I actually dread entertaining. Not because I don't like people, but because I realized that a lot of people lack the basic common knowledge of how to be a good guest. So in this video, ladies, I am going to be sharing with you etiquette of entertaining as it pertains to the guest. Hi, my name is Kaka Amana. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, I'm an etiquette and lifestyle educator. I help women attain femininity by cultivating etiquette, elegance, a good sustainable lifestyle, and virtues. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we're going to jump right into the basics of being a good guest. The first rule, ladies, is to always RSVP. Now, if you've been invited for, an event, sometimes in Nigeria, most people don't actually ask you to RSVP. They just count and expect the people that they have sent, invitations to, and even budget for more guests that could just show up unannounced. But if it's a smaller, intimate gathering, then I'm pretty sure that the host would want to know how many people are going to show up, especially if it's not being held in their homes, and if they actually have to go out of their way to make extra provision for the people that will be coming for the event or the gathering. So make sure that you RSVP. This just makes things a whole lot easier for the host, and then they know how many people that they're expecting, how many people to provide for, and all that. The second rule is to never show up with a +1 if you're not entitled to one, and if you didn't RSVP, to bring in one. This is equivalent to showing up uninvited to an event. It's something that a lot of Nigerians need to learn. You don't show up with an extra person if you didn't inform the host that you'll be bringing an extra person. In fact, take it the extra mile. If the host did not specifically tell you that you're entitled to a +1, don't go asking, oh, can I bring a guest? Because it might just inconvenience the host, and they might not want to let you know how inconvenient it is, but they could just go with it just because they want to please you, but deep down it's rather inconvenient for them. So please, if you're not entitled to a +1, don't force a +1 on your host, okay? The third rule is to never show up empty-handed. This applies whether the event is holding at the host's home or at another venue that isn't their home. For instance, a restaurant, an event center, and whatever it is. If the host has specifically said to not bring any physical gifts, for instance, when it's a bigger event like a wedding or a naming ceremony, and the hosts don't want to deal with having you bring physical gifts, they could communicate this by having a registry, and in that case, ensure that you get them something off their registry, because if you do not get them something off their registry and then you show up empty-handed, it's very tacky, it's very classless, and I think that common courtesy demands that you bring something with you, whether at the moment that you're going for the event or whether you get them something ahead of time, through their registry, their gift registry, but never show up empty-handed or without a gift in any form. Speaking of gifts, cash does not count as a gift except the host has specifically said to monetize the gifts, okay? So giving someone cash as a gift, no. You're better off giving someone a gift card or a gift certificate to, their favorite stores or their favorite spas and things like that. But just giving them cash, it don't count. It's very tacky, okay? The next rule is to stick to the theme. If the host has pre-informed you that there will be a theme which would, should influence your dressing, for instance, if it's a 90s themed party or if it's a Halloween party, whatever it is, if there's a theme and they have expressed their wish to have you come dressed in the theme or in a costume, then do your best to stick to that theme. If there is no theme, then wear what status quo has stipulated as the dress code for those events. For instance, if it's a cocktail party, you wear a cocktail dress. If it's a red carpet event, wear an evening dress, or if you're a guy, wear a black tie. So just try to stick to status quo when you're dressing so that you don't look out of place. When you look out of place, it sometimes is distressing to the host, because a lot of the time when people try to organize these events, they want their friends and their acquaintances to get to know one another, to actually network and socialize. And if you're sticking out like a sore thumb, it might be harder for the host to pair you with people or to introduce you to people that they would have wanted you to meet, just because you don't look like you fit in. Okay, so try not to be that person. Just look your best. Don't overdo it and don't underdo it. Okay, if the event is happening at a restaurant, ensure that you do not order anything that is overly expensive. Do not go for the most expensive thing on the menu. If possible, wait for the host to order first so that you can take a cue from what they're ordering. Take a look at the price range and try to stick with it. If the host isn't ordering first, wait till other people order. Except if you're the first person to order, then it's safer to go with something midpoint. Most hosts try to avoid this dilemma for their guests by having a separate menu printed from the main menu of the restaurant. That way they pick things within their price range and have it, given to their guests as options that they can pick from. But if this hasn't been done and the prices are listed beside the items, the meals that are available for order, try to pick something that is midpoint to low. This isn't an occasion for you to come and drill holes in the pockets of your hosts. Just try to be respectful, be considerate, and ensure that you're a good guest. Okay, speaking of food, do not complain about the food that you're served. Eat whatever you're served without complaints, with a smile on your face, as common courtesy to your host or whoever prepared the meal, which invariably goes back to the host, because if the meal isn't good, then it speaks to the hosting skills of the host. So even if it's not to your preference, even if it's not to your taste, just muster up courage and eat it up as much as you can, except if you're allergic or that you cannot eat that food for medical reasons. But most of the time, if it's an intimate gathering, the host would ask if you have any allergies, especially if they have meals that they already want to serve, and then you're not going to be having a lot of options to pick from. In that case, you can skip the main and do just the appetizer and the dessert, or you could just try to eat the things that you're not medically averse to. Okay? The next rule, ladies, is to make conversation with other guests as much as you can. Socialize with them, network with them. A lot of the time, as I mentioned earlier, when people organize these events, especially the intimate ones, their goal is to have their friends get to know each other and get to have fun at their expense. So it could be sad for a host when they're having to, part of their hosting skills, the bulk of the burden of their hosting skills is spent trying to get people to talk to each other. That's not cool. As adults, even if you're not an adult yet, but as adults, you should know that when you're out to socialize, you should actually socialize. Even if you're introverted in nature, For the period that you're out with people, put those phones away. Put away every form of distraction and actually talk to people. If you are not inclined to speak to people, then don't bother coming. Just don't bother, because you're just going to be a downer and you're going to be an extra burden for the host. No host wants to have a guest attached to them the entire duration of the event. They want their guests to mingle so that they too would be free to check on each and every guest. Okay, so don't think, oh, okay, the only person I know here is the host, so I'm just going to be talking to the host the entire time. Or, I don't know anybody here, so I'm just going to sit in a different section of the house where there are no other guests and just isolate myself. That's just very immature. And trust me, if you do that, then the chances are very high that the host would not want you coming to any of their other gatherings after that, no matter how close you are to them. Okay, so try not to be an inconvenience and a grouchy guest. The next rule, ladies, is not really a rule, but a tip that you can apply depending on the level of intimacy between you and the host. And this is to help them clean up after the event. In some places in the world, it is socially conventional to actually stay back if the event has occurred at the host's house and help them clean up a bit, especially if they don't have a lot of hands and you cannot see a lot of hired staff that would do the cleaning up after. And just help them a bit. Make sure that you gather the waste in waste bags, and then just clean up a little bit after yourself. This doesn't mean that you're going to grab a mop and a bucket and start to scrub the entire house, no, but then just helping out with a little bit, just so that it eases the burden of cleaning up after of the host. It's a good tip to have in mind. In some parts of the world, the host might feel a bit insulted by that. For instance, I know that in some Nigerian homes, guests are not allowed in parts of the home that the host might consider personal and private. Sometimes the kitchen forms a part of those places, and so a guest might not be they might not be welcome to take their dishes, like their used dishes, to the kitchen. They might not be welcome to do their dishes or to even help do other dishes that have been used by other guests. But in other parts of the world, this might not be so. And also, like I said, it depends on the level of your intimacy with the host. So you just need to gauge. In fact, I think it's better to offer if the host declines vehemently your help, then you have done your bit. You have fulfilled this tip. But if you could see that they're a bit overwhelmed and they just decline it out of politeness, you can insist. I'm pretty sure that if they really need it, they would not push the the denial of your help for too long. Okay? The last rule, ladies, is to not overindulge. Not overindulge in food so that you don't get sick and then have to, throw up and things like that and just be a nuisance to your host. But especially do not overindulge in alcohol. This is because you become a liability to your host. They have to make arrangements for you to make sure that you get home safely, and all that burden is not nice to have. So ladies, ensure that you keep these rules of etiquette in mind when you're being entertained at someone's house or at someone's event. And I guarantee you that you'll be one of the best guests that they would ever have. And then, more importantly, you can actually influence other guests to be on their best behaviors as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.